Here I am, 2 hours in, the biggest video I've ever edited in my whole 1 year semi-career on YouTube, when I finally realized that, yeah, this is taking forever. I want to complete something now. I want to give the children what they want. And what do the children want? Is it toys? Is it video games? Is it food? No, it's a review, baby! It's a review! That's what they want, and that's why I'll give it to them. Let's go, bro! Yeah, but I know I just simply can't study another game this size to write another review while I'll still have this guy in the oven. No, I need a shorter and a simpler game. So that's why I started thinking, what is the shortest game I've ever played on this channel, and that would have enough material that I could still expatiate on. I don't have to worry about copyright because I'm not monetized. An Animetic story game, Cardcaptor Sakura. This is a weird game, and it's not weird because it does weird things, it's weird because its existence doesn't make much sense. Not only this game is really short, but it also have the proposal of recreating the events of the anime in a playable format. So it was probably a very low budget game with no high goals to achieve. And that being said, I'm not saying this game is bad or anything like that, it's quite the opposite in fact. They actually managed to do almost everything they proposed themselves to do quite correctly, at least in my perspective of course, and the fact that you can beat this game in about 3 hours or so guarantees that it won't get repetitive. After all, there's no time for that to happen. I left this game satisfied and pleased, which is something that even AAA games haven't been able to do to me recently. But enough of chit chat, let me show you the game and at the same time share my thoughts about it. I won't go over the production details or name the guys involved in the production of this game, because I don't think will be of major importance here, and also because I didn't find much. This game is so MIA that it doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. It only has a wiki fandom, and I didn't find anything more than that. Even when I went looking for the names credited by that wiki page, the results haven't led me to anything that they did in the past, or even any personal information. That is just the level of recognition that this game have, and that made me wonder even more, how did I ended up playing that as a kid? I'll start with the graphics because that's usually what draws people to video games, and in this case you can see that it won't be the case. This is a PlayStation 1 game, a console that if you're not about more than 20 years old or so, you probably never even touched it. It is now a very limited console in terms of graphic, but at the time it was pretty revolutionary. But it's not like this game utilizes graphical capacities to the fullest, and that's okay. Even though we won't have a blast by seeing huge landscapes like in Breath of the Wild, or be stunned by the quality of special effects like in Final Fantasy, the technical quality of graphic is still pretty solid. Its aesthetics are composed 95% of pixel art and 5% of anime cutscenes that are played during impactful moments. And that worked pretty well, I would say, not only because the anime have way more detailed expressions, movements and better animation quality overall, but also, have you seen Cardcaptor Sakura recently? Because I haven't, and I got shocked by the quality of the animation of that. It is insane the amount of fluidity of movement, cinematography, color usage, and overall good taste that an anime produced in 1998 had, especially compared to the sea of sludge that is being industrially produced and dumped on our faces season after season. But I'm missing the point here. The point is that the artists, the animators and the director have a good tact for animation and design, because even in simplicity, those guys thrived in a variety of aspects. The sceneries are rarely empty. Whenever they had the opportunity, they filled the place with a different array of objects, trees, flowers, boards, everything. They simply don't just recycle the same objects over and over again. They actually design new objects for different places, making it so they have their own identity. In the same way they are varied, they are detailed. Phones have buttons, this table has screws to indicate it's locked on the ground, the chairs have different designs, the floor have reflection, the shadows obey a cohesive pattern in some stages, and sometimes they don't follow the real shape of things, and yeah, the shadows left a little bit to wish for, but the models and a few background aspects have this movement to them. Most of them are at least 3 frames long, making it so that the movement of those wings, for example, won't go from its utmost point to the lowest in an instant. A 3rd frame of animation guarantees that we will have a better telegraphed movement, and that's very nice. They are well drawn enough so we'll see Sakura's hair moving with her. We'll see her clothes taking space in the environment. They are well drawn enough so I would get genuinely impressed by the amount of good quality animation that the first stage of this little game have. Now there are parts where the scenery got more static, which is unfortunate, but it's still obvious that there is a lot of care involved with the artist of this game. And it's nice to see that kind of stuff, you know? Maybe because this game is so short and small, they were able to put more effort into the little aspects of it. Like putting this much of details on those books, which is something that definitely nobody will stop and look at it to appreciate, but that is what shows how dedicated they were into making sure that everything have a minimum level of quality. This is not the type of thing that you just instruct to the artist. Those guys probably did it because they wanted, and I can appreciate that very much. The soundtrack of this game is basically the same as the anime, which means that it's good. In fact, it's so good that I'm using it for this video so I can show you how good it is. And on top of that, the composer used them very well in my opinion, which is always very appreciated. He knows how to use the original soundtrack of the anime to define the mood of moments properly, even though it's as simple as follow the anime for reference, since the composition of the anime is pretty damn good too. Sound effects are also just fine. I don't remember finding a single one of them that felt weird or anything like that, though I don't know if it's just me, but I felt like the dialogues from the game sounded a little bit more childish than the anime. I mean, I know that this game is oriented for children, don't get me wrong, but as is the anime, and I wasn't under that impression for the anime. I don't think that way of speech was really necessary, and of course, since I don't have virtually any information about the production of this game, I can't just be being completely insane here and they just use the same dialogues from the anime, but I don't know, just something caused me some strangeness. You know, like when you see someone that doesn't have eyebrows or something like that, it felt weird, man. Relating to characters, there isn't much to say. You like them in the anime, you like them here too. They have the same personalities, same voice actors, the same accents, they are the same, and that's great, because again, they form a very charismatic group in the anime too. So I won't talk more about the characters because I feel like I would be basically talking about the anime, and I don't think that's the proposal for this video. So rest assured, if you watch the anime and will play this game, there is no crazy senseless changes happening here. This isn't a Netflix adaptation, thankfully. Again, my dudes, if you like the story of the anime, whip the fucking do. Guess which story you like here? The game followed the events of the anime to the exact extent. No extra characters, no side story, no nothing, just the same thing. It was adapted up to episode 14, when the whole class go to a field trip on a beach and Sakura and Syoran find a card on a cave. It's quite an interesting episode to conclude your game because it doesn't really conclude anything in the story, and it actually got me really confused why it stopped here of all episodes. Not gonna lie, I struggle a little bit to understand the logic behind this here, because it got me thinking, in which point of the production of the anime did you decide to make this game? Was it when you started? I don't think it was, because games take a little bit of time to be done, and you can't just be airing 14 episodes and decide, hey, let's make a game, and then 2 days later it's out. So they probably approved this game production towards the end of the anime, right? But if that's the case, why episode 14 again? You know what I mean? It feels like what really happened is that they ran out of money in the middle of the production and had to stop developing it, especially because they didn't release any other follow-up games. So I don't know, maybe this game wasn't the success they thought it would be and gave up continuing it, which is a shame, but at the same time comprehensible, and there is a good reason for that. I'll talk about it in the conclusion, but yeah, game story, no changes, episode 14, that's it. The gameplay of this game is basically composed of minigames. Sometimes you might have to jump at the right time to avoid damage, sometimes you might have to press the buttons in the right sequence multiple times to complete the level, and sometimes is as simple as a memory game. Every puzzle are really simple and straightforward, and to be honest, they are very easy. After all, as I said, this game is aimed for kids. You can though play a slightly different version of these minigames in the main menu after you've beaten them, on story mode where they will have a constant difficulty scaling. Outside from that, you almost always only control Sakura and move her around over places where the anime takes place to trigger the events of progression. Everything is very simple and yet well done. The minigames don't feel unfair at all, and if you want more challenge, you can have it as an optional content outside from the story mode. In terms of game design, again, we have stuff being done the way it should. This game have a lot of locked dialogue events. They are not really cutscenes, but they play the same role as it. In order to tell you the story, they lock your movement and you can skip through dialogues by pressing X. And when those events end, they display a controller to you to indicate when you can move your character. That's useful because the parts when you can't and you can move look the same. And regarding to the tutorials, they utilize Carol as an immersion dispositive to explain what you have to do in each minigame. Just like in the anime, he knows everything about the cards and would make sense that would be the one to explain how the minigames imposed by those cards would play out. And outside from that, the game also quickly shows you the controllers you'll need to use to play the minigame. There are no text dump tutorials in this game, but honestly that actually might be because there isn't a lot of systems in this game to begin with, so... Also, in episodes where Sakura have to move on the map to trigger events, objectives will have different colors to differentiate her main objectives, the objectives she already interacted with, and optional dialogues. So you won't ever feel lost while going through those stages, even if you don't understand Japanese at all, because yet this game didn't receive an English version. That one you're seeing right now is a fan dub. But continuing, this made sure that this game doesn't push you by the hand and tell you do this and do that every time. And I can't say if the losing punishment in this game is bad or not, because it's pretty difficult to lose in any of the minigames from the story mode if you're more than 12, but I can imagine they would make you go all over the dialogues again and exploration events before being able to play the minigames, so probably yeah, it should be okay in this department too. As I just showed you, they've used the minimap to help the player without handheld. And also, like I said before, there aren't many blank spaces in this game. All the interfaces they presented have some sort of design that makes sure that we won't see any white boards like in Gen 1 and 2 of Pokemon games. The dialog boxes have low opacity so we can see what is being displayed on the background, and they've used the anime image to better indicate the mood of the characters, supplementing the voice acting, knowing that pixel art is not the best way to do that. It's insane that a 3-hour game that never got any recognition have all that fundamentals just right. I love this game, I really do. And for systems, well, this game doesn't have any real system. No crafting or anything of the sort. To be fair, this game has one system, and in my opinion, a bad one. I've said before, you can replay these minigames in the main menu for an increased challenge level, but that's not all of it. You can also earn coins based on how well you performed on those minigames, and those coins are used to buy collectibles like soundtracks, cutscenes from the anime, concept arts, and all sorts of stuff. The problem lies in the price of each collectible and the reward you receive by each minigame. Cause those minigames get pretty hard, to be honest, and that is fine, but when you average 4 to 6 coins every time you play a minigame and do good, and that each collectible have a price that varies between 4 to 10, you end up realizing that it would take quite some time to earn enough coins to buy each of the dozens of collectibles, which is fine because they are just collectibles, but at the same time it's sad because this is basically the only post-game content, and the artwork you can buy with the coins are actually pretty neat. So I may or may not had to resort to some sort of tricks to get me a few coins. It's okay that you want to put some replayability on your game, but if you want to add some sort of reward attached to it, make sure to add a system where that doesn't feel repetitive, because we already did all that content before. So a good way that I can see to mitigate that is by offering different difficulty levels to award more or less coins accordingly. That way the player will feel motivated to try hard difficulties and still have the option to go in the low but steady pace to earn their coins, since you are also rewarded depending on how good you perform on each attempt. And maybe lower the price of the coins to maybe like 2 would be nice. Aside from that, I have no complaints about it. The game also didn't present any visual or technical glitches, so it's all around well programmed. So to conclude, my dudes, this is Cardcaptor Sakura, an Animetic story game. It's a really short game with great fundamentals, but yet so well forgotten. I wonder if it's because it didn't receive an English version or because of what I'm about to tell you right now. And that is, well, I basically only complimented this game here, so it's only natural that I would recommend it to you, right? Well, no. In fact, I don't. I don't really think you should play this game. The only reason I replayed this game is because by chance I played it as a kid and have a lot of nostalgia evolved around it. If you've never watched Cardcaptor Sakura, I would still recommend you watching it over than playing this game, because the anime is still the best media to consume Cardcaptor Sakura. The production of that anime is insane, and everything related to art, music, voice action is just as good and better in the anime than in this game. And in the case that you have already watched the anime and is discovering about this game through this video, as I mentioned before, you won't find anything new in this game that you can't see in the anime. Story, voice actors, soundtracks, even some cutscenes are all the same from the anime. And the minigames are not attractive or immersive enough so you would feel like you're Sakura fighting the cards. Plus, the fact that you can only go as far as episode 14 in this game is just really groundbreaking because the anime have 70 episodes. So this game doesn't even conclude the story in any sort of way. In my opinion, you're better off just watching the anime again. So the only reason to play this game is that if you are that much of a fan of the franchise, or if you really want to relive the memories of the past, or maybe if you want to record a video about it. But yeah, this is Animetic story game, Cardcaptor Sakura. A small but yet great game that have no reason to be played, destined to be buried in the sands of time and forgetfulness. Blinded by its not attempt of trying to create anything new from a material that already existed, it ended up becoming just the least better option to consume said material. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Deep and this was my review on an Animetic story game, Cardcaptor Sakura. Thank you so much for your time and I really hope you enjoyed it. Please tell me in the comments if you'd like to see more videos with the same format, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me. But for now, I wish you a great rest of your day and bye bye.